What's up guys, it's Michael here and welcome back to FudgeMuppet. Today I've got a brand new Fallout 4 build to share with you and it's one of our coolest characters to date. This is the Thief. The Thief is the ultimate anti-hero. He carries out daring heists for selfish gain, but isn't evil by any stretch. He operates silently and is a master in the art of deception. He's the kind of troublemaker who can steal your most prized possession from the palm of your hands and you wouldn't even realize until he's already long gone. This build benefits from patience and planning. He figures out the best way to tackle a situation and executes it quietly and flawlessly. But in the event that shit does hit the fan, he has the necessary firepower to take out anyone savvy enough to catch him out. The Thief is uninterested in tedious politics and the squabbling of leaders. He is out for financial and material gain, and no job is out of the question if the reward is right. As always, timestamps to help you navigate throughout the video can be found in the description, but without any further ado, let's hop right into the backstory. The Thief was born as an only child in the suburbs of Boston. Though he lived a relatively easy childhood, he always craved what the other kids on the street had. He would often play with the other children, only to wait until they got bored before stealing or borrowing whatever cool toys had been left out. There was no real part of the Thief's mind that enjoyed inflicting hardship on others. He simply took things because he enjoyed playing with them. In high school, the Thief would take great pleasure messing with his peers in the form of harmless, hilarious pranks, such as taking Chad's football and planting it in the bag of some other jock, causing the two meatheads to punch on. He never got caught. By this age, he was a master at sleight of hand. Fate would have it that he would meet another delinquent of his kind named Nora. Though Nora was a cut above the Thief, stealing test answers from teachers and charging people for them, Nora was quite charming. She wasn't as quick with her hands, but she used flattery and manipulation to escape suspicion. The Thief pursued her for months at high school, completely in love. He finally got her attention by managing to steal her watch and then gifting it back to her with a cheeky grin. They dated and eventually became partners in crime. Needless to say, the Thief graduated high school through unconventional methods, aka having access to the answers. He and Nora married straight away and hit the road, abandoning their mediocre lives. They would travel the country, first doing small jobs like stealing bits and pieces from pawn shops or swiping jewelry from pretentious passerbys. They worked amazingly as a team, perfectly in sync, a real Bonnie and Clyde situation. Over time, they planned out some heists which were more ambitious and required bigger teams. With one heist in particular, they recruited quite a large group of crooks like themselves, so that they could win big. What would be their final heist was a mission to acquire the giant diamond that was on display in Boston Museum. This would be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. They would be set for life. The heist goes down smoothly except for one minor hiccup. Another member of the gang, Clay, had an ulterior motive, and he was going to take the diamond for himself and pin it on the rest, leaving them to rot in jail. A lot of shit went down that night. You'll get a different story from every member, but the one thing to know is that Clay isn't around anymore, and both the Thief and Nora have a nice amount of money to play with. However, complications made it so the Thief would have to enlist in the military for a few years to make the investigation of the missing diamond quite difficult for the pursuing detectives. The Thief would then return to Nora and have their child Sean, along with a whole lot of laundered money coming down the pipeline. But this is no happy ending, and the bombs fall as they are rushed into Vault 111. When he leaves the vault, the Thief is initially overcome with shock and stress, but as he gets used to the wasteland, he realizes he has all the skills to prosper in a cutthroat world. Even though he isn't inherently evil, he has the military know-how and cunning acuity that will pay off over time. After following the main storyline for a while, the Thief will be relatively uninterested in the politics of the Commonwealth. He will eventually decide to side with the railroad, not necessarily because of their pure moral intentions, but more due to the fact that they have an intricate network of connections and intelligence across post-war Boston. He sees this setup as perfect for his thieving interests, their guerrilla structure allowing him to fly under the radar while still having a steady income of knowledge and influence. The good guy stigma associated with the railroad will also disguise his true, less than honorable nature. The Thief's motivations will be entirely driven by prospects of personal gain. He will help just about anyone if the reward is right, and has no problem getting his hands dirty if it benefits him. People will rarely attempt to take advantage of him due to his quick hands and his smirking intimidation. Those who do will often regret crossing him, but it is important to note that while the Thief is selfish and shrewd, he does not get a kick from gratuitous acts of violence and evil. If he is going to commit reprehensible crimes, it will plague his conscience, and the pay will need to be incredibly generous. Now that we know a little about the thief's history and his motivations, let's take a look at his special stats. At the start of the game, the thief's stats will be 5 strength, 5 perception, 3 endurance, 3 charisma, 4 intelligence, 7 agility, and 1 luck. The special book in Sean's room will go into strength for that added carrying capacity. Immediately you can see he is a bit of an all-rounder, with his strongest asset lying in agility due to his sneakiness. Despite having a pretty healthier home life, the thief's idea of a good time meant he was always breaking out of his comfort zone. This kept him on his toes and constantly adapting, making him sufficient in just about every area across the board. His ample amount of perception is a testament to his thieving abilities. The thief has an uncanny knack for sniffing out valuable goods and ideal targets with more money than sense. 5 points here will ensure he can take what he wants and find every access point to any area. The thief has been through some particularly perilous circumstances and has always been able to fend for himself when doing so. A respectable 5 points of strength resembles this and will pay off when the thief needs the muscle to escape the scene with a big haul of loot. As I said, agility though is his biggest selling point. It's one thing to know how to plan an infiltration, but it's another to have the sleight of hand and stealth to carry out the plan without any hiccups. Here are the recommended essential perks to get the most out of this crafty crook. First up, from the strength stat line, we have Armorer. With this perk, the thief will be able to adapt his wardrobe to suit his circumstance. Putting yourself in dangerous situations requires some high quality protection. With all ranks of armor, you'll have access to all kinds of armor modifications. Also from strength, there is Strong Back. As I mentioned previously, there are very few limits to the amount of loot the thief is willing to steal, so a high carrying capacity is a must to ensure he gets his acquisitions to the closest vendor as soon as possible. We suggest taking the first 4 ranks of Strong Back. This means you'll get plus 50 pounds of extra carry weight, as well as the ability to fast travel while over encumbered. This makes looting and stealing a lot easier, especially considering you could still run away using action points if you need to. Next is Perception. From this stat line we have Pickpocket, of course. As you'd expect, Pickpocket is an essential perk for this character, and not only will it allow him to steal from unsuspecting victims, it will also contribute heavily to his playstyle. He's so adept at going undetected that he can place live grenades on his enemies and even disarm them. All levels of the Pickpocket perk will allow you to do just that. Pickpocketing will be twice as easy, you'll have the option to steal equipped items and weapons, and you'll be able to blow people up without them even becoming aware of your presence. Next up from Perception is Locksmith. The thief has been doing this for years, finding his way into the most secure of places where the very best steals are stashed away. Fully optimizing this perk means you'll be able to pick all lock difficulties, and your bobby pins will never break in the process. Lastly, from this stat line we have Demolition Expert. The thief's mischief was always relatively harmless in his youth, but thanks to his time in service, the thief learned plenty about explosives. With all ranks of Demolition Expert, explosives will do double damage and affect a larger area. You'll also be able to craft them at chemistry stations, grenades will gain a throwing arc, and mines or grenades shot in vats will explode for double damage as well. The thief isn't the biggest charmer, largely due to the fact that he's too preoccupied sussing out a person's valuables to actually engage in conversation with them. Therefore, from the charisma stat line, the thief will take advantage of the Lone Wanderer perk. This will allow you to carry an extra 100 pounds of goods. It also means you take 30% less damage and deal 25% more damage, and thanks to the Far Harbor DLC, you'll have 25 more action points. All of these benefits only come into play if you're adventuring alone, of course. The thief doesn't rely much on intelligence, but his time in the military taught him some useful skills. Taking 3 ranks of Gun Nut will give access to all the weapon mods you'll need for the thief. 3 ranks of Hacker will ensure you have access to everything that terminals would otherwise prevent you from reaching. Agility is where the thief excels, and some of his major abilities come from this stat line. Firstly, there's the Gunslinger perk. The thief doesn't want to waste inventory space carrying weapons that will only serve to blow his cover. Instead, he's deadly and proficient with silenced handguns. With this perk maxed, non-auto pistols will do double damage, and he'll have a chance to disarm an opponent or even cripple a limb. Next up is Sneak. Being able to maneuver unseen is his biggest asset, and with this perk fully fleshed out, he'll be 50% harder to detect while sneaking. Also, engaging in stealth will cause distant enemies to lose him, running won't negatively impact stealth, and he won't trigger enemy mines and floor-based traps. Working in tandem with Gunslinger, there's the Mr. Sandman perk. We know the thief opts for silenced pistols, and with this perk, silenced weapons will do 50% more sneak attack damage. Finally, from agility, we've got Ninja. If all of this sneak attack damage wasn't enough, the Ninja perk offers some disgustingly good multipliers. With the perk maxed out, ranged sneak attacks will do 3.5 times normal damage. The last essential perk comes from the luck stat line, and for the thief this perk is really a given. 3 ranks of fortune finder will make sure you find the maximum amount of caps in containers. Not including gear but including all bobbleheads, the thief's special stats will be 7 strength, 6 perception, 4 endurance, 4 charisma, 5 intelligence, 8 agility, and 2 luck. As for gear, the thief will be decked out in leather to appear both inconspicuous and badass simultaneously. Early on, anything you want underneath normal leather and a green hood with a gunner's green bandana will definitely suffice, but the end game ideal aesthetic includes a flannel shirt and jeans under sturdy leather arms and legs with the shadowed modification and the normal leather chest piece, also shadowed. The arms and chest will have the ultralight mod and the legs will have the sleek mod. These mods benefit the playstyle drastically. For headwear, you'll want to track down the hunter's hood. In terms of weaponry, early on after obtaining gun nut level 2, you can silence any 10mm pistol and use that alongside various grenades and mines. The thief can craft the best explosives himself, and shooting them with the demo expert perk will guarantee maximum carnage when covert behavior goes out the window. The goal after meeting the railroad is to use the fully upgraded suppressed deliverer pistol. The thief prefers to travel alone, as greater numbers means a greater chance of getting spotted. Since his big heist, he also knows that placing trust in others can be dangerous. The Lone Wanderer perk benefits are a pretty strong incentive to leave the companions at home, but taking Deacon temporarily to get his perk may be worth the investment. The plus 20% bonus to sneak attack damage and the 40% bonus duration on stealth boys is pretty tempting, but if you choose to do this, make sure you kick him to the curb as soon as you reach max affinity. When it comes to settlement building, the thief is indifferent, but he may want to build one hideout in order to store all of his acquired wealth and stolen goods. Subscribe if you're new to our builds and want to see more content like this. This was The Thief. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to give it a like. Timestamps and social media links can be found in the description, and as always, thank you so much for watching. I've been Michael, and I look forward to nerding out with you again in the next video.